before being able to decide whether they will really be a successful pan-India party.
Rajdeep, I want to go back to that original question in that case. What's the mood in your park? Because last time you were with us, you were telling us that the mood in your park was that people were going to vote for Arvind Kejriwal in the local elections, but Narendra Modi in general elections. And I think that mood actually got it far right than most of the opinion polls. So what's the sense now? Now that AAP has ambitions for Lok Sabha elections as well, and looks like they've made it clear that maybe it's going to be the BJP that will be their #1 challenger. How are the same people reacting now?
That's a very good question. I still believe that a large number of people who voted for Kejriwal for the Vidhan Sabha elections are tempted to vote for Narendra Modi for the general elections. As I said, they both represent agents of change. They are both seen as agents of change. And Modi has a national image that Arvind, all said and done, doesn't have at the moment. Modi reflects also a certain stability and security that the urban upper middle class seems comfortable with. Having said that, I do believe Delhi has become Aam Aadmi territory. To even look at this recent confrontation which has taken place between Somnath Bharti, the law minister, and certain women belonging, Ugandan women who have been accused of running prostitution and sex rackets. Now, there's been a lot of anger in the manner in which the midnight raid was conducted in the media. But you go and ask the people in that locality, they seem more than happy that someone is taking up what they call their cause. So I think for Delhi at the moment, the Aam Aadmi's disruptionist politics is working. Beyond Delhi, there's a huge question mark, because I think once you come to Lok Sabha elections, one of the driving forces will be stability and good governance. On both these criteria, the Aam Aadmi Party is untested, and that's where even in my park I get the sense that there are voters who voted with Arvind Kejriwal in the Vidhan Sabha elections who might want to vote for Narendra Modi when it comes to the general election. So I have always believed this, that the better the Aam Aadmi Party did in the Delhi elections, that's a good signal for Narendra Modi. The mood in the country therefore is one of change. Who is able to capture that change? In Delhi, to some extent, Arvind Kejriwal has been able to do it. But nationally, the sense one gets, and maybe our election tracker will show that, Narendra Modi remains the man to beat.
All right. So is that a glimpse you're giving us into your election tracker? Rajdeep, no, I'm not going to ask you to answer that. But yes, sir. Yeah.
No, I'm going to tell you one thing, Sanjay.
Right.
The results are stunning.
Okay.
As you will see them over the next 5 days, the country's voters are far more sensible than many of us think when it comes to issues of governance, stability, who they believe will provide good government. Sensible in the sense that they are very clear, much more clear-headed than you and I perhaps are.
All right, Mr. Godrej, are you just a little bit worried by the economic populism that seems to be taking off after Mr. Kejriwal announced free water, free electricity? Are we getting into a state of competitive populism which to some extent is to be expected in an election year but could go out of hand?
Well, I think overall, if you look at this particular election, competitive populism has been rather low. And I think the government in power has taken steps to balance the fiscal situation, balance the current account situation in an election year. So I think generally it is clear also in the state elections and other places, populism is not winning as much votes as good governance and good development. If you look at governments, state governments which have delivered development, they have been voted back into power. So I am hoping
you could argue
populism will not be as important in this election.
But you could argue that in the case of Delhi, that wasn't quite right, Mr. Godrej. You had a chief minister who delivered fairly good governance, and she lost, and you got a chief minister who's come in with free water, free electricity, which is certainly populism, and in winning him lots of clapping at least.
I also read a report that said only 6% of the people who voted for the Aam Aadmi Party said that they did it because of the power and water, and most of them did it because of the anti-corruption stand. Now that's a report I read.
All right.
So I think one has to delve a little deeper as to why Aam Aadmi Party did well. But we must also remember that the BJP got more seats than the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi.
Okay, that point is well taken. Rajdeep, I just had one question for you. I know we'll keep calling you back to give us an update on that election tracker, but the one criticism against the Aam Aadmi Party is what we were discussing, their internal ideological confusion. So, on one hand, Yogendra Yadav conveying some message of pragmatism, on the other hand, Prashant Bhushan talking about fringe benefits, etc. Do you think that this ideological confusion that has emerged just in the recent past could take away some of the vote bank?
This is where the Aam Aadmi Party is playing a clever game, or this is where perhaps there's a mismatch between what you and I and maybe those who are in journalism and the so-called enlightened classes of India see this dissonance, see the confusion. For the Aam Aadmi Party, it suits them. When I asked this to Arvind, he says, we are a Shivji ki Barat. We want everyone to join us. You see, this is the kind of politics which is appealing to the person in the Jhuggi Jhopdi. Outside the enlightened classes, they want the rules of this system to be changed. They want disruption. They want the Prashant Bhushan, Yogendra Yadav. You can ask them about this ideological confusion. Yes, there is a problem. I believe there's a serious problem that the Aam Aadmi Party is confronted with. But their voters, on the other hand, are seeing this as an attempt being made to challenge the establishment. This is all anti-establishment politics. This is the age, in a way, of the pre-1975 politics that we've entered, almost like the 77 election. An established party system that people want changed at all costs. But Narendra Modi is questioning it from one direction, the Aam Aadmi Party is questioning it from the other. So the ideological confusion exists today even within the BJP. Let's be clear. Modi's economic policies are not shared by the Swadeshi Jagran Manch, which is part of the RSS. That's the reality. But this so-called dissonance doesn't quite work because people have a face to look at. Kejriwal in the case of Aam Aadmi Party and Narendra Modi in the case of the BJP. The rest do not matter. So I think that's the politics that we are seeing playing out at the moment. Yes, it's concerning when you have people with such discordant voices within one group, but then maybe India, according to Arvind Kejriwal, India is a Shivji ki Barat. Forget about India has discordant voices. It's time you started accepting it. And it may not appeal to you and me. It may not appeal to the Surjit Bhallas of the world and the right-wing economists who are troubled by it. It may not appeal to the Adi Godrejes. But remember, Adi Godrej has one vote and the same number of votes are with that person in the Jhuggi Jhopdi. And it's time we realize that.
Okay.
Mr. Godrej, your last take on that?
Well, I do agree with Rajdeep that some of the things the Aam Aadmi Party might be doing might appeal to the common people who have been disillusioned with the way political leaders have given direction to the country, certainly. But I think at the same time, if you look at how people have voted in the various states over the last 3 to 4 years, development has been supported. So I think the message, for example, the BJP is giving out on how they would add to develop, how they would promote development, I think will appeal to people. So I think we should wait and see, and as Rajdeep says, they have done a major survey in India. It will be good to see how that pans out. It will be good to see also, after a month or two in office, what impression the Aam Aadmi Party has created, because that's how people will vote 3 to 4 months from now.
Well, Mr. Godrej, thank you very much for joining us. Rajdeep, thank you, and all of you. Election tracker on CNN-IBN. You will get bits of that on CNBC TV 18 as well, so keep watching us.